Hey guys, welcome to 3 and Out. You can check out the podcast below in the description. And here's what I need you to do. Make sure you subscribe to the Volumes YouTube channel to stay up to date to everything we're doing here on 3 and Out and the Volume.
We're in here right now getting ready for the storm that is coming with the SEC championship between Georgia and Alabama. Battle of the Titans this weekend.
Let's start there. I was listening to your show, and you know what's weird is I had a lot of friends that worked for some of the early iterations of the Saban program, Jim McElwain, Ed Manowitz, some of that early building, and they swore by Will Muschamp. And Will Muschamp was kind of put on this pedestal about being the next Nick Saban, and he had been Nick's right-hand guy. It just never materialized for whatever reason. But Kirby basically has become everything I think we thought Will Muschamp was going to be for like a decade-long stretch. How good is this guy? You have a front row seat. I know you watch Georgia closely.
You know, the thing about Kirby, number one, he gets it. You know, we always talk about, is this coach a CEO coach? Is this coach, just a defensive guy? Kirby's a defensive guy, yes, but Kirby got the blueprint from Coach Saban. And the thing that separates Kirby, in my opinion, is that he's genuine. Like the way he is, how fired up he gets, the way he talks to the guys. If you hear some of the speeches in the locker room, it is exactly what an 18 to 22-year-old wants to hear that plays college football. He's himself. And when you're yourself and you're at a place like Georgia that the brand sells itself, you're basically taking two tsunamis and putting them together because you can have unlimited success at Georgia. I would say Georgia per capita, when you look at high school basketball, football, and baseball, is probably the best state in the country per capita, in my opinion, with all three sports. And Kirby's been able to go there. He played at Georgia. He's a Georgia boy. They love him there. And he's won. The only hump he has to get over is Nick Saban. But you look at the way he recruits. Kirby's smart, not just because he has that G on his chest and they've been doing well on his shirt logo, but Kirby gets it. He's genuine, he's himself, and the players trust him. The players believe that he wants what's best for them. And that's all you have to do. If the players believe that you want what's best for them, they'll run through a wall for you. But you got to prove it every day to them. And I think Coach Smart has done an unbelievable job, whether guys are performing on the field, not performing on the field, if they're a backup, if they're a starter. They know that Coach Smart knows what makes them laugh. He knows what makes them cry. He knows who they are, and he knows how to motivate them. Because a coach's job is to push you further than you can push yourself. And that's what Kirby's done. He's just happened to do it at a juggernaut like Georgia. And Kirby took his time now. Kirby, just like Billy Napier, he took his time, built up a lot of equity, and decided he was going to pull the trigger for the right job. And the right job was Georgia, and you see him thriving. His plan's working. The 5-year plan. I'm not talking about Big Daddy with the guy that works at
yeah. You know, what's funny is I have a good buddy that lives in Northern California who's dating a girl that went to the University of Georgia. And she is a diehard. And we were out a couple weeks ago. It would have been the week that Georgia played Tennessee. And we ended up going out to the bars, and over a couple drinks, she looks at me and she goes, "How good are we?" And I could see it in her eyes, like, is this our year? And I said, I think you guys are the overwhelming favorites. And really, they handled business. Their schedule's been, they can only play who's on, the South or the East is down. But this week, Bama's a little down. And they're basically a touchdown favorite. This is kind of his, even though he'll have a ton of pressure, right, with the 2 playoff games, but this game would get a monkey off his, how much pressure, because he's in the playoffs either way, right? He could lose this game and he's still in.
Yeah.
But just, you're in that city right now, the fan base, how big is this week?
Well, and look,
do you think they're going to win? Like, who do you like this weekend?
Yeah. Until they beat Bama and they win the Natty, the pressure's going to be on. I mean, because Georgia fans aren't going to believe it till they see it. And you know what? They shouldn't. They haven't won a Natty since 1980. They've been as close as you can get. And, it's the boy who cried wolf kind of situation. Until it actually happens, then they're going to take a deep breath. But I think it's going to happen, John. You look across college football, there hasn't been a bunch of consistent teams. I mean, how many teams that have the roster to win it, which is 3, maybe 4, and I can argue that Georgia has the best roster in the country with what they have, the veterans and the depth that they had coming back, the way they attacked the portal, even with the injuries. When I look at this Georgia team, we look across the landscape of college football, who's played better complementary football than Georgia has? They have the number 6 offense in the country in total offense. People don't want to talk about that because it's not flashy and it's not sexy. This team reminds me a whole heck of a lot of the teams that Nick Saban was winning national championships with 5, 6, 7, really 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago. Stetson Bennett, you came in with your backup quarterback, really your third string quarterback who was, taking reps with the scout team and walk-ons during fall camp. And, he's been solid. They're like gravity, John. You don't realize that gravity's there until you're 80 years old and you're hunched over and you're like, how did this happen? Oh, it's because of gravity. Well, when you play Georgia, you feel like you're in the game, and then you look up in the third quarter and you're like, how are we down 27-3? Like just because they're consistent, they don't lose the game. Most teams, and I can argue this in the NFL, most teams in football lose games. They don't win them. It's the team that can really not lose the game, that can be the most efficient, that can be the most, consistent. Now, when I look at Georgia this year, one-off games, we know the talent Alabama has. Alabama's going to get up for this game. Everybody always asks when I'm betting games, well, they did this with this team and they did this with that team. It's hard to use the transitive property and be right, not only in college but in the NFL. Guys get up for different teams. You can probably only get your team up. And what I mean by up, not excited to play, but playing at a very high level for 4, maybe 5 games a year. This game, Alabama will get up for. I expect it to be low scoring. I don't think you see a team score over 24 points. I think Georgia wins 24-14, 24-17 in that vein. I think they're going to be ahead by 7-10 throughout the game. Bama's going to be trying to play catch-up. The biggest matchup to me is the biggest matchup that it's always going to be when you play this Georgia team. Their front seven versus your offensive line. And if Alabama continues to struggle, especially on the right side of the offensive line, it's going to look like the part on Deep Impact when the wave comes and takes girl and her dad off the beach. That's what
I was
it's gonna
thinking
look like.
Yesterday picking up lunch. Can you imagine the focus and intensity? Like Saban and Kirby ain't giving Newt Rockne speeches this week. This is everyone.
No.
Can you imagine the intensity in the building? I mean, all week and on the field, in the meeting rooms, like that. You talk about 2 programs: the GOAT versus Kirby, who's little GOAT. It feels like just the amount of talent on both teams. Like it would have been a clinic to document. Just get people just document what's going on film.
Yeah, there's nobody laughing at practice on the sideline. There's none of that. To quote Dan Fouts, it's the Bourbon Bowl, man. You can't hold anything back.
Thanks for watching 3 and Out. You can check out the podcast below in the description, and make sure you subscribe right now to the Volumes YouTube channel.